The human engineer was not supposed to survive the crash. When the patrol ship broke apart above the amber skies of Kestari, the crew scattered across the planet in burning fragments. Escape pods fell like dying stars. Some exploded before reaching the ground. Others vanished into storms or oceans. The official survival odds for a single crew member were less than 5%. Lieutenant Aaron Hale beat those odds by refusing to panic. His pod hit the ground hard, skidding across jagged stone before smashing into a shallow ravine. The impact crushed the left side of the pod and threw him forward. Pain flared through his leg and shoulder, but his armor absorbed the worst of it. Even so, alarms screamed inside his helmet. Power failure, structural breach, oxygen leak detected. Aaron lay still for several seconds, forcing his breathing to slow. He had learned long ago that panic killed faster than enemies. When the shaking stopped, he unlatched the harness and dragged himself out of the pod. Hot air rushed in, carrying fine metallic dust that clung to his armor. The sky above was a strange mix of gold and violet, with distant clouds moving too smoothly to be natural. He looked down at his suit. The chest plate was cracked. One shoulder joint sparked weakly. Internal power flow was unstable, and the environmental seal was compromised. On a hostile world, a damaged suit was a death sentence. Aaron exhaled and muttered to himself, "All right, let's fix you." He activated his emergency beacon. No response came back. Either the signal was blocked, or there was no one left to hear it. That meant he had only one option. He knelt beside the wreckage and pulled out his multi-tool. The armor was not meant to be opened in the field, but humans rarely used equipment exactly as designed. He detached the cracked plating, exposing bundles of wires and glowing conduits beneath. Warning lights flared brighter. Yeah, he said quietly. I see you. He rerouted power away from the damaged shoulder and reinforced the cracked seal with emergency alloy paste. The process was slow and painful. His injured leg throbbed with every movement, but he ignored it. Pain could wait. Air could not. As he worked, the ground vibrated faintly beneath him. At first, he thought it was an aftershock from the crash. Then he heard footsteps. Aaron froze. The steps were light, measured, and cautious. Not the heavy tread of a large predator. Not the chaotic rush of a charging animal. These were intelligent steps. He slowly turned his head. Two figures stood several meters away, partially concealed by dark crystal formations. They were tall and slender, clearly humanoid but unmistakably alien. Their skin was pale blue, smooth and unmarked except for faint silver lines that traced elegant patterns along their arms and necks. Their eyes were large and dark, reflecting light like polished stone. Both wore armor. It was advanced and beautiful, shaped close to the body with layered plates that shimmered faintly. One carried a long energy spear, its blade dim but ready. The other stood with empty hands, her posture tense yet curious. They spoke softly to each other in a flowing language Aaron could not understand. He raised both hands slowly, keeping his movements calm and deliberate. "I'm not a threat," he said aloud, knowing the words meant nothing. "Just broken." The spear-bearing alien shifted her stance, clearly prepared to strike if he moved too fast. The unarmed one tilted her head, her gaze fixed not on Aaron's face, but on his armor. She stepped closer. The spear wielder hissed a sharp warning. The unarmed one replied quickly, her tone firm. She pointed at the exposed wiring and damaged plating. Her eyes widened slightly as she watched Aaron reconnect a severed conduit and seal it by hand. The spear-bearer hesitated. They were not deciding whether to kill him. They were deciding what he was. Aaron returned his focus to the repair, forcing himself to appear calm. He detached a burned-out regulator and replaced it with a backup component scavenged from the pod. The suit's alarms dimmed, replaced by a steady amber glow. The aliens stared. Their technology was advanced, but their systems were clean and precise. They were not built to be taken apart in the dirt and forced back together by raw problem-solving. What Aaron was doing violated every safe engineering standard. The unarmed alien spoke again, faster this time. The spear-bearer's eyes widened. Aaron finally looked up and gave a small, tired smile.
"I know," he said. "It's not pretty.
But it works." The unarmed alien extended her hand, palm open, fingers slightly curved. It was not a gesture of surrender. It was an offer. Aaron hesitated, then slowly took her hand. Her skin was warm. She helped him to his feet, surprising him with her strength. The spear-bearing sister relaxed slightly but did not fully lower her weapon. She gestured toward the distant forest, then to his armor, then to the sky. Aaron understood enough. "You don't want me wandering around like this," he said. "Fair." They led him away from the crash site, moving carefully through the rocky terrain. Aaron limped, but the unarmed sister adjusted her pace to match his without comment. He noticed that both sisters moved with natural coordination, glancing at each other often, without speaking. After nearly an hour, they reached a hidden settlement carved into the stone at the edge of the crystal forest. Smooth structures blended into the rock, almost invisible, until one was close. Soft light glowed from within. As they entered, several other aliens turned to look. The reaction was immediate: shock, fear, curiosity. A human had not walked into this place in living memory. Aaron was guided into a circular chamber filled with tools, consoles, and pieces of dismantled armor. The sisters spoke to others who entered quickly, their voices urgent. One of the newcomers approached Aaron and scanned him with a handheld device. The alien flinched at the readings. His armor was held together by temporary fixes and emergency overrides. It should not have been functioning at all. The unarmed sister pointed at the armor again, then mimed a braking motion. She looked directly at Aaron and then at a damaged suit of alien armor resting on a stand nearby. Aaron followed her gaze. The alien armor was cracked along the torso, its internal field generator shattered. To Aaron's eye, the damage was severe but not impossible. He pointed at it, then at his own chest, then made a tightening motion with his hands. The sisters exchanged a look. Slowly, the spear-bearing sister powered down her weapon and set it aside. They allowed Aaron to approach the damaged armor. He knelt beside it, studying the structure. The materials were unfamiliar, but the principles were not. Energy flow, stress distribution, redundancy failure. He could see the problem immediately. He gestured for tools. There was hesitation, quiet, debate. Then the unarmed sister handed him a device that looked like a cross between a cutter and a welder. Aaron got to work. He bypassed the shattered generator, rerouted power through secondary channels, and reinforced the cracked plates using layered bonding instead of a single rigid seal. It was messy, inelegant, effective. When he finished, the armor hummed softly. The chamber fell silent. One of the aliens tested the suit. The energy field stabilized. Structural integrity rose to safe levels. It was not perfect, but it would hold. The sisters stared at Aaron with something new in their eyes: respect and fear. They began speaking rapidly, their voices overlapping. Aaron understood none of the words, but he understood the tone. This was not just about armor. This was about what humans were. He sat back, exhausted, as the unarmed sister offered him water and nutrient paste. He accepted gratefully. His suit was still damaged, but now it would last. That night, he was given a place to rest. Aaron lay awake, staring at the unfamiliar ceiling. He knew he should be planning his escape, looking for a way to signal any remaining human forces. Instead, he thought about the armor, about how the sisters had looked at him when he fixed it. Humans were not the strongest species. They were not the fastest. They did not have the most elegant technology. But they could fix anything. They could make broken things work again. On Kezantari, That made them dangerous, and Aaron did not yet realize that by morning, the sisters would come to him with a request that would bind him to their world far longer than he ever expected. The morning sun rose slowly over the jagged horizon of HFY, bathing the crystal forest in a soft golden light that shimmered against the violet leaves. Aaron Hale sat quietly on the edge of the chamber where he had rested, his hands moving over the repaired panels of his armor. Despite the improvements, the suit was still unfamiliar under his touch, and every adjustment reminded him that he was far from Earth.
The unarmed sister, the one who had first guided him, approached him with measured steps.
Her blue skin reflected the sunlight, faint silver lines tracing along her arms and neck, giving her an almost ethereal appearance. She carried a small metallic container filled with a nutrient gel, offering it to Aaron with a gesture that needed no words. He accepted it cautiously, tasting the gel. It was bland but nourishing, enough to restore energy without making him sluggish. "Thank you," he said quietly, knowing she could not understand him fully. Then she tilted her head slightly, acknowledging the sound of the word. The spear-bearing sister appeared behind her. Unlike yesterday, her stance was relaxed but still cautious. She moved with the precision of someone trained for battle. Yet there was a subtle grace in every motion, the way her eyes scanned the room and the way her hands adjusted her weapon. Aaron watched them both and realized something. These aliens, as alien as they were more than warriors. They were protectors of something, guardians of technology or knowledge that even humans could only guess at. Their armor was not just for defense, it was a symbol of identity, a combination of engineering and tradition. And in that chamber, the broken suits they had laid out were like sacred artifacts. He finished his meal quickly, feeling strength return to his muscles. His suit hummed faintly around him, stabilized but still fragile. He flexed his shoulders carefully, testing the repaired joints. The armor responded smoothly, the warning lights steady and calm. The unarmed sister watched him, her expression unreadable. She finally spoke, her voice soft but carrying weight. Aaron couldn't understand the words, but her tone was insistent, almost commanding. She pointed to his suit, then to a console filled with glowing alien symbols, and then to herself. Aaron nodded slowly, understanding the basic meaning. She wanted him to demonstrate, to show that his repair had worked. He activated his suit's systems, running through a series of motions that would normally be routine for a human engineer, testing mobility, rerouting energy flows, recalibrating internal sensors. The armor responded flawlessly, the systems integrated as if it had never been damaged. The sisters exchanged a look, respect, recognition, and something else. A hint of awe. Aaron realized then what he had done. Humans were not known for their ability to handle alien technology with precision, especially when that technology had failed catastrophically. Yet here he was, bending their systems to his will, fixing what they could not, solving problems they might never have considered solvable without their own advanced instruments. The unarmed sister gestured for him to follow. Aaron hesitated, then complied. He moved through corridors carved seamlessly into the rock, the air humming softly with energy. Outside, the crystal forest stretched endlessly, light refracting off the trees like a million tiny prisms. They arrived at a larger chamber, where more alien armor and technology were stored. Some of it glowed faintly with energy, while other pieces lay dormant, as if waiting for a hand capable of understanding them. The sisters gestured toward a particularly large suit, one that seemed older and more damaged than the rest. Its plating was fractured, its internal conduits burnt out, and its generator was cracked. Aaron approached it carefully, his engineer instincts kicking in immediately. He studied the energy patterns, traced the fractures with his eyes, and noted the damage with precise mental calculations. This suit was beyond simple repair. It would take ingenuity, improvisation, and patience. The unarmed sister moved closer, guiding him with gestures, while the spear-bearing sister observed from a distance.
She did not interfere, but kept her eyes sharp, as if ready to intervene if needed.
Aaron appreciated the unspoken trust in that stance. They were allowing him to work on something deeply personal to them. And in doing so, they were showing a level of confidence in humans he had rarely encountered. He set to work. First, he carefully removed the damaged plating, exposing the delicate conduits beneath. Unlike human armor, this technology was responsive, alive in a sense, reacting to energy flow and physical touch. Aaron's fingers worked with care, rerouting power around broken circuits, using improvisational patches to stabilize the internal generators. He applied pressure where needed, adjusted connectors, and monitored energy outputs in real time. Hours passed. The sisters watched silently, occasionally exchanging glances. Aaron felt their attention like a quiet pressure, a weight that reminded him of the stakes. If he failed, he would not just be repairing armor, he would be breaking trust. Finally, he stepped back. The suit hummed softly. Its systems stabilized. He flexed its limbs, testing the response. Energy flowed through the conduits with efficiency. Sensors recalibrated, and the generator maintained a steady output. The unarmed sister reached out and pressed her hand against the armor. The hum of the suit seemed to resonate with her touch. She spoke rapidly, her voice filled with excitement and relief. The spear-bearing sister finally allowed a small smile, her weapon now resting casually at her side.
Aaron nodded, tired but satisfied. He realized then that this was not just a technical achievement. This was a connection. Humans were not only capable of fixing machines, they were capable of earning trust through action, through competence, through ingenuity. The unarmed sister gestured for him to follow again. This time, they moved through the outer corridors of the settlement. Aaron noticed the subtle security measures, fields that adjusted to body heat, sensors that could detect minute vibrations, automated drones patrolling overhead. The sisters were not just warriors, they were protectors of knowledge, keepers of technology that must be preserved at all costs. They led him to a large open platform overlooking a valley filled with shimmering light. Crystalline formations stretched for miles, catching the sunlight in a way that made the ground glow. The air was charged, humming with energy that Aaron could feel even through his armor. The unarmed sister pointed to the horizon, then to the sky, and finally, back at Aaron. He understood enough. She wanted him to go further, to explore, to understand the environment. It was a test, not just of skill, but of adaptability, of courage, of human ingenuity. Aaron nodded. "I can do that," he said, even though he doubted she understood.
But words were unnecessary here. His actions would speak for him. He began to move forward carefully, testing the terrain. The ground was uneven, covered in a combination of crystal and soil. Energy flowed visibly in thin lines across the valley floor, pulsing rhythmically. Aaron adjusted his suit to compensate for the unfamiliar gravitational shifts and energy fields. The sisters followed, silent and observant. Occasionally one would gesture, pointing out a hazard or suggesting a route. Aaron learned quickly to interpret these gestures. Human adaptability, he realized, was not just physical. It was cognitive. He could read intent, anticipate danger, and solve problems with improvisation that their structured society might not expect. They reached a narrow ridge where the energy fields converged. Aaron studied the patterns, analyzing how they interacted with the environment. He noticed a series of weak points in the natural energy conduits, places where interference could disrupt the flow or cause instability. He knelt and examined the ground using his tools to measure energy fluctuations. The sisters watched, curiosity and caution mingling in their expressions.
Aaron realized that while their technology was advanced, it was designed with assumptions about how beings interacted with it. Humans were chaotic.
Humans were adaptable. Humans broke assumptions. He began reinforcing the weak points, rerouting energy through natural channels, stabilizing the flow without disrupting the overall balance. The sisters observed in awe. They had not expected such intuition, such problem-solving under pressure. As the hours passed, the valley hummed steadily, energy flowing smoothly,
through the crystals. Aaron stood, wiping sweat from his brow. The sisters approached, their faces reflecting both amazement and something else. Gratitude. Aaron understood then that he had done more than repair machines or stabilize energy flows. He had earned a place among them, not as a guest but as a contributor, a being capable of understanding and improving their world. The unarmed sister spoke again, her voice urgent but gentle. She pointed to a distant structure partially buried in the crystal formations. The spear-bearing sister gestured with her weapon, indicating caution. Aaron understood. They wanted him to investigate, to use his skills to uncover something hidden, something potentially dangerous. He nodded, feeling a surge of purpose. For the first time since the crash, he felt in control, not merely surviving, but actively shaping events on this alien world. They moved together, crossing the valley with careful precision. The crystalline formations shimmered with energy as they passed, reflecting light in dazzling patterns. Aaron noticed small creatures scuttling among the crystals, wary but curious. He realized that this world was alive in ways humans rarely considered. Energy was not just a tool, it was life itself, interconnected, responsive. Reaching the buried structure, Aaron examined the entrance. Energy barriers flickered along the edges, signs of decay but still functional. He knelt and worked, rerouting power, stabilizing the shield, and carefully unlocking the mechanisms without triggering alarms. The sisters observed silently, their eyes wide. When the barrier finally opened, revealing an inner chamber filled with alien machinery and data cores, they stepped aside, allowing Aaron to enter first. Inside, he saw technology that even he struggled to comprehend fully. Interfaces pulsed with light, systems hummed with barely contained energy, and the air was thick with power. Aaron's fingers moved instinctively, analyzing, repairing, and integrating. He bypassed damaged circuits, rerouted energy, and stabilized critical systems. Hours passed, but Aaron worked tirelessly. The sisters occasionally offered tools or guidance, their gestures precise and respectful. By the time he finished, the chamber was fully operational, energy flowing smoothly, systems stabilized. The unarmed sister approached him, placing a hand on his shoulder. Her touch was firm but gentle, a gesture of approval, trust, and something deeper. The spear-bearing sister nodded in silent agreement. Aaron realized then that humans, even when strangers on a distant world, could achieve respect through skill, ingenuity, and courage. He had not only repaired technology, he had earned trust and a place among beings far more advanced than himself. For the first time since the crash, Aaron felt hope. He was no longer just a survivor. He was a human engineer on an alien world, capable of shaping events, influencing outcomes, and proving that humanity's greatest strength was not raw power or technology, but adaptability, intelligence, and the will to persevere. And as the sisters led him back to the settlement, he knew that they would not let him leave easily. They had seen what humans could do. They had felt the impact of his skill, his ingenuity, and his determination, and they wanted him to stay, not as a guest, but as a part of something greater than any human mission could have imagined. Aaron had spent several days in the alien settlement, each one stretching his endurance, his mind, and his understanding of Kestari's strange, energy-filled landscapes. Every morning he awoke to the soft hum of alien technology, his repaired armor ready for the day's challenges, and the watchful eyes of the two sisters close by. They had begun to trust him, but he could feel that trust was tempered by caution. On this planet, mistakes were costly. The unarmed sister approached him first that morning, her expression urgent. She gestured toward a distant ridge, beyond the crystal valley where he had stabilized the energy flows. Aaron understood immediately that she wanted him to investigate something. The spear-bearing sister joined her, standing slightly behind, alert, scanning the horizon for threats. Aaron tightened his armor, checking all the systems. They hummed smoothly, the emergency repairs holding perfectly. Even so, he knew that venturing farther into this alien terrain would test both his skill and his courage. He nodded to the sisters, signaling that he was ready. The journey began at a steady pace. The valley stretched before them, crystal trees shimmering, small energy pulses coursing across the ground. The sisters guided him carefully, pointing out hazards, teaching him to read the subtle patterns in the energy fields that humans would normally ignore. The world itself seemed alive, reacting to their movements, adjusting its subtle energy currents in response. Hours passed as they climbed higher into the ridges. Aaron's legs ached. His lungs worked against the thin, energy-charged air, but his determination carried him forward. Every so often, the unarmed sister would point at a fissure in the crystal floor or a weak energy conduit, and Aaron would adjust his path or reinforce the structure with improvised tools. His human ingenuity, combined with the sisters' guidance, allowed them to navigate obstacles that might have defeated a native of the planet alone. Finally, they reached a plateau overlooking a vast crater, the edges of which glimmered with raw energy. At the center of the crater, a massive structure jutted out, a machine of unknown purpose, its surface jagged and covered in pulsating energy conduits. The sisters paused at the edge, their expressions tense. Aaron could feel the power radiating from the structure even from this distance. "This is dangerous," he said aloud, though the sisters could not understand the words. The spear-bearing sister's eyes narrowed, and she gestured for caution. The unarmed sister pointed at Aaron's armor, then at herself, emphasizing preparation. Aaron knelt and scanned the ground, reading the energy flows. The structure was unstable. Energy spikes erupted unpredictably along its surface, suggesting that any sudden movement could trigger a catastrophic discharge. He adjusted his suit's shielding, reinforcing internal conduits to protect against bursts. The sisters watched silently, their trust evident but their concern clear. Moving closer, Aaron examined the exterior of the structure. Thin, crystalline filaments crisscrossed its surface, carrying energy in patterns that defied simple logic. He realized that the machine was alive in a sense, reactive, responsive, and dangerous. Humans rarely encountered technology this unpredictable, but Aaron's experience with engineering disasters and battlefield repairs had prepared him for improvisation under pressure. He traced the energy filaments with his tools, identifying weak points in unstable conduits. With careful hands, he rerouted energy flows, stabilized critical junctions, and reinforced the structure's external shell using a combination of alien materials and human alloy paste. Sparks flew. Alarms flashed, but the system held steady. The sisters exchanged glances, their eyes reflecting astonishment. Aaron noticed for the first time the depth of their amazement, not just at his skill, but at his intuition. Humans were chaotic, but that chaos could be harnessed to solve problems that rigid logic alone could not. As Aaron worked, the ground beneath them trembled. A low rumble grew into a roar as creatures emerged from the crater below. They were massive, six-legged beasts, their skin metallic and reflective, armor plating fused with living tissue. Energy pulses radiated from their bodies, feeding from the same currents Aaron had been manipulating. They were clearly drawn to the disturbance in the energy flow. The spear-bearing sister drew her weapon, moving in front of Aaron. She gestured urgently for him to stay behind her, but she did not speak. Aaron understood. They expected him to continue his repairs while they provided protection. Humans were strong, clever, and quick thinkers, dangerous when underestimated. This moment would test everything he had learned. Aaron adjusted his suit again, rerouting energy to reinforce his shielding. He monitored the beasts, calculating their approach and predicting their paths. The sisters moved with him in unison, blocking the most direct routes, guiding the creatures without harming them unnecessarily. Aaron realized these beings were as much a part of the planet's ecosystem as the energy flows themselves, and indiscriminate violence could destabilize the system. He continued to work, focusing on the critical junctions. Sparks leapt, and one energy filament threatened to surge dangerously. But Aaron reacted instantly,
diverting the flow and stabilizing the conduit. The creatures hesitated, sensing the sudden shift in energy. The unarmed sister stepped closer, pointing to another weak section of the structure. Aaron understood immediately. With precise movements, he reinforced the area, connecting alien circuitry with his improvised human fixes. The structure shivered, then hummed steadily. Energy pulses flowed smoothly again. The beasts paused, sniffing the air, their metallic bodies reflecting sunlight. They seemed to recognize stability and retreated slowly to the edges of the crater, leaving Aaron and the sisters unharmed. Aaron exhaled, lowering his hands from the armor. The sisters approached, their expressions a mixture of relief and admiration. The unarmed sister gestured toward the structure, then pointed at Aaron, then back at herself. The meaning was clear. They wanted him to stay, to continue aiding them, to protect and repair the systems that even their own species could not fully maintain alone. He felt a mix of pride and exhaustion. Humans were often underestimated in alien worlds, considered fragile, limited, and predictable. But here, his ingenuity, his ability to adapt, and his willingness to face danger without hesitation had made a difference. He had stabilized the structure, controlled the unpredictable energy flows, and survived a direct encounter with the planet's native predators. The sisters led him back toward the settlement, moving carefully across the plateau. As they walked, Aaron noticed subtle changes in the environment. Crystals shimmered brighter, energy flows pulsed more evenly, and the ground hummed with renewed life. The planet itself seemed to acknowledge his actions, responding to his presence and skill. Back in the settlement, the sisters guided him to a central chamber where more alien technology awaited repair. Aaron recognized that each task would challenge him differently, some requiring precision, others creativity, and some sheer improvisation. Every time he succeeded, the sisters' trust deepened, and with it a bond formed that went beyond language or species. That evening, as Aaron rested in the chamber, the unarmed sister approached again. She gestured for him to sit, offering nutrient gel and water. The spear-bearing sister stood watch, but her tension had eased. Aaron accepted the food, grateful for the brief respite. He reflected on the day. Humans were often undervalued in the galaxy, dismissed as fragile or primitive. But on Kazantari, his skills had proven invaluable. He had repaired what the aliens could not, stabilized energy systems that threatened to collapse, and faced dangerous creatures with quick thinking and adaptability. His human ingenuity had made the difference between disaster and survival. The unarmed sister spoke softly, her voice filled with emotion. Aaron could not understand the words, but her tone carried meaning. She trusted him. She respected him. And in a sense, she wanted him to remain, to continue shaping the future of this world alongside them. Aaron realized then that he had a choice. He could attempt to leave, to find a way back to human space, or he could stay, embracing the role the sisters offered him. It was a rare opportunity to be more than a survivor, to be a builder, a protector, a problem solver in a world that valued skill, courage, and adaptability above all else. As night fell over the crystal forests, the sisters led him to a vantage point overlooking the valley. Stars shimmered above, reflecting in the energy-filled crystals below. Aaron felt a sense of belonging he had never experienced before. He was a human, far from home, yet here his skills mattered more than ever. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, more unstable energy systems, more native creatures, more problems that required human ingenuity. But for the first time since the crash, Aaron felt ready. Humans were not the strongest. Humans were not the fastest. Humans were not always the most advanced, but humans could think. Humans could adapt. Humans could survive, and when necessary, they could thrive in ways that even the most advanced species did not expect.
The sisters watched him, their expressions calm but unwavering.
They had seen what humans could do, and they wanted him to stay. Aaron understood now that his future was intertwined with theirs. He was not merely a guest in this alien world. He was a human engineer, a force capable of repairing the unfixable, stabilizing the unstable, and proving that human ingenuity could shine even in the most alien circumstances. And as the first light of dawn crept across the crystal forest, Aaron Hale made a silent vow. He would not fail them. He would not let the planet, the sisters, or himself down. Humans had been underestimated for too long, and here, on this distant world, he would prove that no challenge was beyond their reach. The sisters stayed by his side, a silent promise of trust and partnership. Aaron flexed his repaired armor, feeling its strength and resilience. He was ready. The planet of Kestari was vast, dangerous, and alive, but for the first time, he felt he could face it, not as a survivor, but as a human engineer capable of shaping its fate. And somewhere in the depths of the valley, the energy flows pulsed steadily, a testament to human skill, determination, and the beginnings of a bond that would change the future of Kestari forever. The morning light shimmered across the crystal forests of Kestari, casting fractured reflections across the valley below. Aaron Hale stood at the edge of the settlement, scanning the horizon. The sisters were already waiting, calm but alert, their eyes trained on the distant ridge where energy pulses flickered erratically. Aaron adjusted his armor. The repairs had held, the system stabilized, but he knew this day would be the real test. Something was wrong deeper in the valley. Energy readings fluctuated beyond anything he had encountered before. Whatever was happening, it was threatening to destabilize the delicate balance he had worked so hard to maintain. The unarmed sister approached him first, pointing toward the ridge. Her gestures were urgent but precise. Aaron understood immediately. She wanted him to investigate the source of the disruption. The spear-bearing sister followed, her weapon ready but relaxed, a silent promise that she would protect him. Aaron nodded, his resolve firm. Humans have been underestimated across galaxies, dismissed as fragile, reckless, or primitive. Yet here, on a world that thrummed with energy and danger, his skills had proven invaluable. Today they would be tested again. They moved together across the valley, the crystals underfoot refracting light into thousands of tiny beams. The energy in the ground pulsed rhythmically, but irregular spikes indicated instability. Aaron knelt, scanning the patterns, tracing the flows with his hands and tools. He identified the weak points, unstable conduits, failing nodes, and pressure points that could collapse if not stabilized quickly. As he worked, the ground trembled beneath them. From the edges of the valley, massive six-legged beasts emerged, drawn to the disturbance in the energy flows. Their metallic bodies reflected the sunlight, energy pulsing from them in rhythmic bursts. Aaron froze for a moment, calculating. These creatures were powerful, but predictable in their patterns. With careful timing, he could avoid confrontation while maintaining his repairs. The spear-bearing sister raised her weapon, signaling for Aaron to stay low. The unarmed sister guided him with gestures, pointing to safer paths across the uneven terrain. Aaron moved with precision, rerouting energy flows, reinforcing conduits, and stabilizing critical junctions while the creatures circled. He worked quickly but methodically, knowing that one mistake could trigger a disaster. Suddenly, a massive spike of energy erupted from the largest conduit, sending a shockwave across the valley. Aaron's armor absorbed part of it, but sparks flew across the panels, and warning lights flared red. The beasts recoiled, but the pulse was strong enough to destabilize other conduits nearby. Aaron didn't panic. He knelt, fingers flying across exposed connectors, rerouting the energy flow manually. Sparks jumped from the conduits, but he stabilized the network just in time, absorbing the brunt of the energy in his suit without catastrophic failure. The sisters watched, awe evident in their expressions. The unarmed sister gestured rapidly toward a distant structure, half buried in the crystal formations. Aaron understood. The source of the disruption was there, and it was beyond simple repair. He motioned for the sisters to follow, leading them across the valley with the beasts at a cautious distance. As they approached the structure, Aaron could see its true scale. It was massive, ancient, and alive with energy. Cracks in its surface emitted pulses that shook the ground. The crystals around it glowed brightly, reacting to the instability. The sisters paused, clearly concerned, but they did not hesitate to let him approach. Aaron studied the surface, tracing the flows of energy. He realized that the structure's core was destabilizing, its energy field threatening to collapse entirely. If it did, the valley would be destroyed, and the delicate ecosystem he had worked to stabilize would be lost. He took a deep breath, knowing what needed to be done. He began working quickly, rerouting energy flows, reinforcing conduits, and connecting alien systems with his human improvisations. Sparks flew, lights flickered, and the energy pulses surged dangerously. But Aaron remained focused. The sisters stayed close, guiding him, providing tools, and shielding him from potential dangers. Hours passed. Sweat dripped from Aaron's brow as he worked tirelessly, analyzing, adjusting, repairing. The structure shivered under his touch, but he held steady, relying on instinct, experience, and ingenuity. Every human skill he had developed over years of engineering, battlefield repairs, and improvisation was put to the test. Finally, the structure stabilized. Energy flowed smoothly through the conduits, pulses regular and balanced. The beasts, sensing the restored equilibrium, retreated to the edges of the valley. Aaron exhaled, collapsing to one knee, exhausted but triumphant. The sisters approached, their expressions a mixture of relief and admiration. The unarmed sister placed a hand on his shoulder, a gesture of approval and trust. The spear-bearing sister nodded silently, lowering her weapon. Aaron realized then that he had earned not just their respect, but their confidence. Humans, even strangers on distant worlds, could achieve remarkable things through skill, determination, and courage. As the sisters guided him back to the settlement, Aaron reflected on the events. He had faced danger, navigated unknown terrain, repaired alien systems, and survived encounters that would have overwhelmed most. His human ingenuity had made the difference, proving that adaptability, problem-solving, and quick thinking were just as valuable as raw strength or advanced technology. Back at the settlement, the sisters led him to a central chamber. They gestured for him to sit, offering nutrient gel and water. Aaron accepted gratefully, feeling the exhaustion of days filled with constant challenges. He realized that he had grown stronger, not just physically, but mentally, adapting to this alien world in ways he never thought possible. The unarmed sister spoke softly, her tone urgent, yet gentle. Aaron could not understand her words, but her gestures made the meaning clear. They wanted him to stay. They wanted him to continue helping them maintain the delicate balance of energy systems across Kestari, to protect the planet, and to use his skills for the benefit of their civilization. Aaron nodded slowly, understanding their intent. He had thought of returning to human space, of seeking rescue or reintegration into human society, but now he realized that his place was here. On Kazantari, his skills were valued. His ingenuity made a tangible difference. He had proven that humans, even when underestimated, could adapt, survive, and thrive in ways others did not expect. The sisters watched him closely, waiting for his decision. Aaron looked around the chamber, at the repaired technology, the glowing consoles, and the energy flows stabilizing under his hands. He thought of the creatures he had observed, the unstable structures he had repaired, and the delicate ecosystems that now thrived because of his actions. He made his choice. "I'll stay," he said quietly, though the sisters could not understand the words directly. His actions had already spoken louder than language. Relief and gratitude filled the unarmed sister's eyes. The spear-bearing sister allowed herself a small, approving smile. Together, they led him to a vantage point overlooking the valley, where the energy flows shimmered in harmonious patterns. Aaron felt a sense of belonging he had never known before. For the first time since the crash, he was not just a survivor. He was part of something larger. His skills, his ingenuity, and his determination had earned him a place among beings far more advanced than himself. Humans were often underestimated, but on this world they had proven their worth.
Aaron spent the following days integrating fully into the alien settlement.
He repaired failing systems, stabilized energy conduits, and guided the sisters in adapting their technology to new challenges. His human perspective offered solutions that the aliens had not considered. And in turn, he learned from their advanced understanding of energy and environmental systems. Together, they created a synergy neither species could achieve alone. Aaron's improvisational thinking combined with the sisters' precise knowledge, resulting in innovations that strengthened the settlement, stabilized the valley, and improved the safety of the surrounding ecosystems. Word of his successes spread quickly among the alien community. The human engineer who had arrived alone and broken became a symbol of ingenuity, resilience, and adaptability. He was no longer an outsider. He was a partner, a protector, and a trusted figure in a civilization that had once doubted humans' capabilities. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the horizon, Aaron stood with the sisters at the edge of the settlement. The valley below pulsed gently with energy, the crystal forests glowing softly. Creatures moved peacefully, responding to the stabilized energy fields. The planet itself seemed to acknowledge his presence, as if rewarding the human ingenuity that had saved it. The unarmed sister placed a hand on his shoulder, a gesture of camaraderie and trust. The spear-bearing sister nodded, her expression calm but approving. Aaron realized that this was more than survival. This was recognition. This was humanity's strength in action, the ability to adapt, to think creatively, and to solve problems that others could not. He looked out over the valley, feeling a sense of purpose he had never known. Humans were not the strongest, not the fastest, not always the most advanced, but they were clever, adaptable, and resilient. On Kazatari, those qualities had made the difference, and as the sisters led him back to the settlement, Aaron knew that he had found a new home, a place where his skills mattered, where he was valued, and where humans could truly shine. He had fixed broken armor, stabilized chaotic systems, and faced dangers that few could survive. And in doing so, he had proven something far greater, that human ingenuity, courage, and determination could overcome even the most alien challenges. Kestari was no longer just a distant world. It was a place where a human engineer had changed the course of history, earning trust, respect, and a new beginning. And the sisters who had first seen him as a stranger now saw him as part of their world, a human whose mind, skill, and spirit they would never let go. Aaron smiled beneath his helmet, the weight of his armor feeling lighter than ever. He had arrived a survivor, but he would remain a hero, a partner, and a symbol of humanity's unyielding strength. For on Kazatari, humans had proven themselves, not through brute force, but through intelligence, creativity, and the courage to face the unknown. And that courage would shape the future of the planet, and of humanity's place among the stars, forever.